Welcome to another episode of Overthinking, a podcast that I do here that discusses many topics. Today, we're talking about a lot of race issues and things that might be a little triggering for some people. And I'm putting it up regardless because I think it's an important discussion that needs to be had. And hopefully something productive can come from this in a way that we can move forward and race relations and things like that can be sparked to become better for everyone. It's really simple. It's not that simple, but I do want to make sure that you guys hear what I think about this sort of thing, what my friends think about this sort of thing, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So please make sure you like and subscribe. Shoot a comment down below if you have anything to say about any of the things that we said, and don't forget to share this with your friends so that they can also be part of the discussion. You guys can have that same discourse. With style and grace, stay safe, and I'll see you next video, guys. Bye.
Jamie, like we were talking about before,
You said you're an idiot.
Shut the fuck up, nigga.
Just letting him know.
Who's talking?
I'm just letting him know. Just let him know. Just let him know.
I feel like I'm back in
Dude,
the
that's
box
the guy.
right
That's the
now.
guy, by the
Quiet,
way.
nigga.
That's the guy, by the way.
Thank you.
Chrissy.
Thank you. Anyway, Jamie. So we were talking about this earlier.
Rough.
About like the kind of the two thought patterns that are predominating like the media when it comes to the killing of Floyd, and you know, like kind of how that shapes how the riots are going to be looked at, and how support against the true like problem here just dwindles because of like the divisiveness.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I'm suddenly looking. I don't know what the fuck this is. Oh, MS. UC. And it does seem. Oh, what the fuck? Well, okay, well, shit is on fire.
There's. Oh,
A lot of shit.
There's cars on fire.
They are getting the cook.
Okay. Oh, okay. Alright. Setting police cars on fire. Lit.
Hey, I'm more okay with them
Yeah.
setting police cars on fire than actual like property, because at least they're being angry at the people that they're fucking supposed to be angry at. Like you're not just burning random
but,
fucking.
but
shit
everything
down.
else is on fire too.
Yeah, that's the retarded part. It's like if you're gonna be mad at the system that's oppressing you, don't fucking start burning down businesses, especially your own.
so like, what do you mean by like thought patterns in the
Okay. Yeah. So so far what I've gleaned from taking a peek at conservative and liberal news coverage of this idea on the conservative side that there's like this minimalization that has to go on, right? Like there's a full investigation into the person at hand, so it can delegitimize the outrage and the rightful outrage sometimes that occurs from these events. So they'll say things like, "Oh, well, you know, he had a criminal record. That's probably why they were handling him wrong."
Oh, so that's what minimize it, because like if he's such a bad person, like why are you writing to him? Yeah. Assholes.
And that misses the point of that's not the problem. Like no one cares, right? We're looking at this guy, whether
being
he's
murdered.
a hardened criminal or not, and saying he's a citizen of the United States.
He doesn't get
that
due
has
process.
rights.
Yeah, like what? Like
So,
I stuck a little weed on them.
yeah,
Must be murder.
like not even that, bro. It's just like, what if that's you, right? Like that can be you. The cops can do something like that to you. Placed in a very similar situation, you don't need to have a criminal background for that to happen. So that's what we're looking against, being like, okay, like that's what we should be focusing on. So that's one side, right? And then you have the fucking liberals who are making it into a race issue, which creates more divisive rhetoric towards people
I mean, kind
that
of a race issue.
don't really feel the way that they're proposing that they do. So making it a white versus black issue with the introduction of the white cop and the black guy. That's just what happened. And it gets focusing on a larger race issue. Whether or not the problem is that we can probably say that this cop wasn't a dirty racist that just saw a black dude and did this to him and just killed him outright in the public because he could, because that guy's black and he's white, right? And that's the most simplistic way of saying that. But I don't think that's what happened. So I don't think that needs to be discussed. I'd rather hit the issue that is more effective and inclusive of more Americans.
Why are our police force so incompetent?
Yeah. Why are they incompetent? Why do the police have so much power?
Yeah, like, and aren't held accountable for it, like most, like.
Yeah, I think the issue that comes up is like people see like, oh, this is like two people, like it's the cop and then it's the guy on the ground, so it's a people issue. But no, it's like an institutional issue because this keeps happening from this one institution. It's not like, you know, it's that white guy and this one black guy, and then he killed them. But that's not what happened. It's like this is a cop, part of like groups of cops that done like stuff like this similar in the past. It's not like a black and white thing because the guy's white.
Yeah, and a lot of what you're saying is the truth, and the reason why people have the mindset, even though I don't agree with it about all cops being bastards, is because other cops will stand by and do nothing while their fellow officers are doing stuff, even if they're your superior. So I mean, like, apparently the officer who choked George Floyd was the captain, so he outranked them, which in that sort of sense you would, you know, be beholden to support your superior no matter what. But to what extent do you not give up your values in protecting and serving to just be like, dude, like, you're killing this dude. Like,
I want them to have those values, my G.
Like,
when you were seeing values out here, bro.
Like, bruv, like, I mean, like, why are you a police officer then? You shouldn't be a police officer.
Good me hold.
Yeah, but
I mean, that gets into a weird space as well.
Relationship between the police and the people are just different. Like the way cops used to be, and the type of power that cops held before, and looking at that and comparing it to now is vastly different.
Yeah, they're completely militarized now. Or, yeah, actually, they're pretty fucking militarized now. Not even, like, beginning the process. That process began years ago.
What would you say the difference from, like, back then and now?
Police forces didn't have armored cars. And the fucking APCs. And heavy machine guns. And SWAT team. And it gets to a point where a police force looks at the people that it's supposed to be protecting and serving as people that give them money as a source of revenue through ticketing and citations.
Capitalism.
It's not even capitalism.
Oh god, the socialists trying to hijack this is, it's so triggering. Oh god. The socialists trying to hijack this fucking protest by making it about fucking capitalism, and other shit. Like, oh god, please shut the fuck up. Like, you get out of this conversation. Get out. Get the fuck out. Oh my god, dude.
Hey, can I come here and talk about the mistreatment of furries?
Get the fuck out.
That's what it kind of feels like. It's like, yo, this is the time. Get your agenda ready. It's time to go out. They're vulnerable.
Fucking sad face, dude.
Especially people like Al Sharpton, they're like, yo, what you mean? This is definitely black and white. What you saying?
Yeah. People who have things to profit from it, yeah.
Give me money, please.
I'm here to help. I'm Al, and I'm helping.
With your cold hard cash, I'm helping.
Myself to this money.
Like, it's really upsetting how incompetent the police force in this country could be. Oh man, it's so sad.
I just saw the video. Like, no, I didn't see the video. I just saw a picture, man, and like, there's not a lot of things that like get to me, but that shit kind of like, it like touched my soul. Like, it just like,
anyone who has like any sort of humanity in them would look at that video. Like, I watched a whole video. Like, at some point, your heart has to tug a little bit. It's like, bro, he's calling out for his mom who's dead, like on the ground. With,
we don't know that at the time.
I mean, okay, yeah, sure, you don't know that at the time, but he's still a grown ass man is calling out for their mother. What else? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's That's a little strange. And
Yeah,
considering
That nigga is,
and he's
He's
pleading.
gonna die.
He's pleading for his life, and it's like
yeah,
what?
He knows he's gonna die.
Like what the fuck?
Yep. And that's what makes it fucking insane. Is that in that moment he's like, "Holy shit!
These guys are gonna kill me. These motherfuckers are gonna kill me." Yeah. Right in front of like an entire like populace, like right in front of a city. Like I don't
No, that's what I'm
understand.
saying, bro. Like that fucking
Cameras and everything. They didn't care.
This sticks with me so hard because we're so close to that. When niggas is getting like beat in the streets, like, huh? Let me get my camera out. Like nothing. We're just like so fucking.
I think I know what you mean.
Point yesterday, and I'm pretty sure you heard it. They can't do anything.
Yeah, like there's no way rushing a bunch of armed people is a good idea. Trained armed people.
People talk, bro.
Oh my god, no! I just picked Jinx support by accident.
Like, where were they even at? Like, especially if they're in the hood, that's not the way people talk. Like, people supposed to be like, "Yo, man, cops did some shit in here. We're gonna do it. We're gonna get them." That shit doesn't happen.
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
Nobody's getting the cops. You don't get shot.
Yeah.
So you look at it like, oh shit.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can't do anything.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
I
was saying
wish.
Yesterday, like,
I
if
wish
that guy wasn't a cop and he was just a dude doing that.
people would have
with
fucked
his
them up.
3 buddies.
Yeah, people would have jumped
you
in
would
at some
be
point.
justified. You would be encouraged to step in and do something.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't face criminal charges for it.
Yeah,
But it's a cop.
yeah.
See, that's I'm just like, where's the
Gross.
people with the talk, bro? I feel like this happened like in a open like Harry state, nigga just walking around guns. Yo, can you get off my boat?
Oh man, part of me was like, God damn it! I hope someone just is like starts
Just watching them.
just starts like galvanizing the crowd and like get it because there's got to be more people around than there are police officers there. Like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
It's
That's
just
shit.
it's terrifying.
Yo, don't
like-
threaten me. I understand.
Yeah, feels bad. Feels
I
bad.
understand what that means now. Give me a gun.
Give me a gun.
I need to protect myself.
Feels bad because like I have no personal bad experience with police officers, but it's just so hard to want to trust them when things like that happen.
You do. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want this nigga talking to me.
Like always in the back of my head,
this
there's
nigga
like a
does.
little like just are you gonna fucking kill me for some reason? Like.
I'm sure my boy was like, yo, we're just in the car, bulling out. Like, oh, they stopping us. All right, get on the ground. All right, shit, I'm on the ground. Chill. I'm doing everything I need to do. I'm being choked.
And and one of the worst parts is that it literally isn't all of them, but they're all complicit. So it's the worst.
Yeah, they can't do anything, man. They're
Yeah.
just like, well, that's my captain, so I can't fucking go over there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
overdo whatever. Two of the cops there were rookies.
Don't do drugs, kids. That's what the Asian cop was saying while that dude was getting fucking choked out.
That was also part of this.
Don't do drugs, kids.
I didn't.
I think that was a
didn't.
good way of trying to
The
justify
Oh,
it.
and
Fuck?
that too. Like, oh, he had
Oh,
intoxicants in his system.
Whoa.
all
Who the
right.
fuck cares?
Yeah. What are
He
four?
wasn't resisting arrest.
Yeah. What are 4+ police officers afraid of one? Why are 4+ police officers afraid of one man? They all have guns. He's handcuffed and prone on the ground. What are they afraid of?
This nigga may
Nothing.
like turn into the Hulk. If I
Yeah,
don't have
and
my
just
knee
beat
on
their ass. I don't know.
I don't want
Yo,
Holy
crack
shit.
is one hell of a drug. Okay.
That's exactly what they think. They're like, yo, this nigga might crack out, might fuck me up.
I just don't like what's going on. Like, in the stations, like what are we like? What are they talking about? Like, yo,
They
That's
police.
a good question.
Oh,
I know
police
the
are
jug
just.
on the street turns them to the Hulk. Gotta shoot him before they even close.
Alright, I gotta dip in on Tim Mo, guys. It was a
Yeah,
great talk.
like, I just don't understand.
Yeah. No. Later. Yeah. I don't really get the
And like this,
the
like,
training
paranoia
process.
seems like there has to be something like.
Like, what is this training process? That's what that's what I need to know. When I hear stories, because I watched the Abba Preach video, and apparently one of them, Abba, was in the military. It's like when I hear stories about how they treat people overseas like with more dignity and give them more chances to not fuck up than they do with citizens in our own country. It's like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't even sound that's a training issue. Police are not trained properly.
I just want to know what changed because cops didn't seem to act this way. Like a fucking decade ago. Well, like 2 decades ago, I would say.
One day. One day we won't have to worry about being assassinated.
Sure, I don't know.
I was talking. So I was debating. I wasn't debating. I was having a conversation with someone. What were we talking about? We were talking about how police, black people, bad, something. No, I'm just saying buzzwords now to try and jog my mind. That was the topic. Police.
Interesting buzzword.
Those would be all the tags. Police, black people, bad, stupid, incompetent.
Training, military, podcast.
Podcast? Okay.
Hey, what is like the best thing
What
for
do we
like
do?
the public to do?
Oh, that's what we were talking about. How there's not a charismatic leader that black people need, like Martin Luther King,
Yeah, sure.
or shut up,
Me,
or shut the fuck up, or like a Malcolm X or whatever. But hopefully not like an actual Malcolm X who's that radical. Even though he toned down later on, but like, yeah, we don't have another Martin Luther King, some charismatic black, well-spoken leader to be the face of the movement. The movement has no leader, which causes it to be chaos.
Will get in there.
What?
We need Will Smith.
We need we need Will Smith. Malcolm X was really radical and very Islamic. Martin was kind of soft. I think he had a set of ideals that revolved around thinking or believing that peace was the better way of obtaining results than
You can call him more
violence.
like passive.
Yeah,
That was, like, my
yeah,
choice.
I think that's what he's trying to say. Even though he's saying soft, like he's using that word synonymously with passive.
No, but I wouldn't.
I think
yeah,
he
yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see you, but you did that.
I just watched a 30-minute interview with Martin Luther King when he was alive. You know, it'd be really weird if I did it after he was dead, because like, how did he do that? But yeah, no, I was watching it, and he's actually such a really good speaker. He's a super good speaker. Like, I was actually, and he was coming up with these answers to these questions. I don't know if they were off the dome or if they like pre-read the questions or whatever. I know they do that sometimes, but maybe not for back then. I don't know. But like, he was really well spoken. And then he said something about the biggest resistance we'll have is like paying for like to bring poor people out of poverty. I was like, God damn it, he's a socialist. Get him out. Get him. He's a goddamn commie. He had me. He had me in the first half. I'm not gonna lie.
One place from all the camp.
Okay.
They go straight to the
He
fucking
had
camp.
me in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. Then he started being commie. No, but like that was no. He's super well spoken, dude. Fuck. Someone that charismatic needs to lead this movement.
That's probably like one.
To lead
That's
a
a really
movement.
sad thing too. 'Cause how you get yourself out of that little trap?
Out of what?
I guess.
What?
Because let's be real, for like to help the black community, it is gonna take money from people that are not part of the black community.
Well,
But you can't really get around like asking for it because all like the weird shit you get into.
Yeah, I see what you mean in the sense.
No. You know,
I see.
So it's definitely gonna require outside help.
will it?
I see what you mean by
Why?
that. I think what he's touching on, and I could be wrong, so you can correct me. But I think what you're touching on is essentially how the black community doesn't have any economic base, whereas every other like community in America that's not like black does.
So the Latinos do?
They have more
Do
of
the
an
Asians?
It's just not well.
Asians do have a they have a lot of capital per Asian
I know,
household.
I'm the only reason why I'm asking is like, do we? It's not like a weird. I don't think it's a weird way of looking at it, given established history. But all of the groups that I just mentioned are not white people, and it seems like there's either something about the entire structure of the system as an option. There's something with black people. There's something with the history and how it transitioned to now. There's something wrong that doesn't explain why blacks are at the point that they are now. If we're talking about
I
having
think-
an economic base.
I think slavery is a pretty big one.
You
I
can't
think
say slavery.
Yeah,
I don't
you
think slavery is
can.
that
No,
good
I
of
wouldn't
a-
even say slavery. I would say
Yeah,
the
it's not that
sabotage
great.
after slavery.
well, when slavery is ended, but
God,
blacks
that was a
are
big old
pretty much
sabotage.
freed, but have no source or
Yeah, that's
or
what
like
I'm saying,
any
the sabotage
starting
after
capital,
slavery.
and they're just made to put
Yeah,
out. They
but
just put.
neither did any of the other people that immigrated to the United States afterwards.
But they weren't
Chinese-
slaves
Yeah, but they
beforehand.
immigrated, though.
What?
They immigrated by choice. They didn't like. Give
Yeah,
up.
they
weren't-
black
yes,
people were
they
brought
weren't
here against their
forcibly moved,
will.
right? They were not forcibly moved, but they made a choice to come to a new land and start over from scratch. The
Okay.
blacks that were in America were here. they
Poorly
basically
educated,
had
yeah,
nothing,
okay.
They were slaves. They were forcibly emigrated here, but they're on the same type of baseline standing. I'm not talking about the
I would
rich
disagree.
people of all of these classes that moved here in order to establish something great. I'm talking about the baseline average person. Yes, they were more educated starting out to a greater or lesser degree. They understood their language and they could read, potentially write. Blacks, it took them a while to get to that point because of slavery. Some, like, they knew how to speak, obviously, but they were illiterate.
Not to mention
So
the
you have-
inherent stigma of the color of black people's skin as lesser people. That helped. That
But this
definitely.
happened with all of those other immigrants too because of their different skin color.
But we're still missing the important distinction that one was willingly traveled and
I
the
don't
other
care.
wasn't.
At that point, it doesn't
but that's an
matter.
important distinction.
It's so far, we're so far removed from it that moral quandary just doesn't matter anymore. We were here, okay? We were brought here.
think
We were
that's
slaves.
probably
We were
different.
free. The only thing that we can do after we're free is to build an economic base for ourselves and move forward.
From nothing,
And
with
that's what we
constant
did
resistance
for
the entire
100
time.
fucking years.
Yeah. See, I think that's the problem. I hear like a lot of Republicans say what you just said, but clearly to the people that's like affected, it really does matter. To them.
Yes.
This is like a trauma that keeps getting like extended through generation to generation because this apparently matters a lot to them. It may not matter to you. It may sound real dumb, but to them this matters a lot. And I think that's people just keep talking over each other when it comes to this issue because people just don't want to like empathize and
Yeah,
like, listen and like.
And yeah, it's sort of like that.
Okay.
It's sort of like that
I-
bootstrap
hold on,
mentality.
Hold on. I just want to respond to that because there's a difference between me empathizing and listening to someone and validating their perspective and point of view, right? If that's what you think about slavery, if you think that that's the limiter to your life, then that's what you think. I don't really care, right? For me, it's about what happened. It's about reality, and it's about, hey, man, it seemed like, black families as a whole from fucking slavery up until halfway through the 1990s were doing well. Black wealth was at its highest. So what happened after that? Because that's not slavery.
The war
That's
on
the aftermath
drugs,
of
and then
slavery.
other
That's what I wanna
and then
know
other
about.
institutional implemented legislation that harmed black families and the success of black families.
Okay, so then so slavery's not the problem then. It's that.
But it
Oh, yeah,
stems
that's
from the
something-
same
that's
base
slavery.
racism that America's founded on.
But Jamal, like, if
It's
Well,
all
if
one
you're
thing.
trying to, like, if you're
A lot of
following what I'm
American
saying,
culture is like racism is ingrained in a lot of American culture.
Racism is ingrained in cultures.
Oh, okay. Racism towards black people is ingrained in a lot of American culture.
Oh,
Like
okay.
specifically.
Okay. And
Okay, dog.
like if it's ingrained in American culture, what's been the result of that?
What's been the
Yes,
larger
what's been the
disparity
result of it?
a
You're
larger
bringing it up
disparity
as
of
if
wealth,
it's
a larger
wrong.
disparity
So
of
what's
blacks,
the problem with
a larger disparity of wealth in the black community as opposed to other communities in the country that have not faced that level of discrimination, and even a large disparity within the black community because of it.
So you're saying that because
A lack of
there's
education in
racism
black communities, a
present-
lack
No.
of funding, all of those things contribute to racist legislation that have held black communities back after they started to get their little bubble where you say they started to rise in economic power. They did, I know. And then after that, what happened to that economic power? It got burned to the ground, literally, and then after that, laws have been implemented since and after segregation to harm the progress of black communities.
Okay, now my
Why niggas running on roofs?
the
Why niggas running on roofs?
the clash here is that's what matters, right? The realities of what you just spoke is what matters. What happened after that? The immediate crash. racism being prevalent in American culture doesn't explain all of that happening, right? It doesn't explain the institutional destruction and systematic breakdown of not only the black community, which got hit the hardest by it, but any other minority groups, because they were grouped in and treated with the same type of rules. It just hurt the blacks the most.
So you think
more legislation dedicated towards them, right? But that's not an issue with slavery.
Okay, so you think other immigrants, maybe, okay, so I'm not even going to use European immigrants. You think other immigrants face the same kind of discrimination, the same level of discrimination that blacks did? You're willing to say that?
Yes.
I don't agree with that. I think you're wrong. Unless, I mean, I can look it up. I can look up some numbers, and maybe if you can look up something that'll prove that, I can try to see if I can find something. But like, I can't see the argument for that.
With that statement. Why is that a proof statement, right? If you're saying that blacks have experienced the sole highest amount of racism in America, and they've been affected slowly, the highest, the most, right? And no other minority group is affected at the same level that came to the United States, or they haven't faced a similar level of discrimination, and they weren't lumped together with the blacks, but the blacks got it the worst. If you're saying that they're not all equally discriminated against, if that's the argument that you're trying to make, and you're trying to prove that, good luck.
Okay. I mean, I think it would be a lot easier to prove that than it would be to prove opposite, because you would see legislation that affected communities that would be particularly harmed by this, and I guarantee you, the ones that would be particularly harmed the most will be black communities, in terms of arrest, in terms of different legislation that targeted those communities, even during like the war on drugs. I'm willing to bet that black people were focused way higher. And more non-violent crimes were arrested and reported under black communities, which would probably be drugs, and so forth and so on. When I'm pretty sure other of those minority communities definitely sold drugs and probably didn't go to jail for nearly as much because they weren't profiled like blacks were.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that. If you have a bunch of, like, if you're, what? You're saying that the amount of drugs that were prevalent in the Latino community wasn't cracked down upon at the same rate as the blacks because they profiled the blacks at a higher, like, standard of priority? Is that what you're saying?
I can make that correlation, yep.
Okay. And what are you making the correlation based on? Are you going to say, hey, like, here are the crime statistics for this era? Therefore, they targeted the blacks the most?
Here are the crime statistics for this era in this one region where there are both blacks, Latinos, and others, and we can see which ones are arrested more, which ones are stopped more, and so forth and so on.
And that's now.
Within the last 10 years. Hell, within the last... Let's go back even further. Within the last 10 years. Oh, okay.
That's... Ooh, that's sneaky. That's not what we're talking about.
Okay, so no, yeah, we'll still go 10 years. Okay, so what are we talking about?
The past statements that were made were on the general equality amongst the minorities in terms of bad legislation, drug war legislation being enforced, and enforced pretty heavily. I'm saying that the end result of the blacks getting it the worst is the end result of the blacks getting it the worst. But in terms of the targeting, in terms of what's happening literally by how the laws are written in the areas that they would affect, would definitely encompass other minority groups. And those minority groups will be affected at the same rate. The outcome of the effect on each of those groups will probably be different, unless they all fall within the same socioeconomic background and just general location of where they live. Otherwise than that, the effect is going to be most likely the same.
Okay, I'll look it up.
What are you looking up?
To see what the difference is. I mean, because like you're saying that there would be no difference in saying that I can't tell between whether or not this is happening for race issues or a class issue. Yeah.
No.
Is that not the basis of what you're saying? Like the...
No, it's not. It's not the basis for...
You're saying I can't prove that the, like, black people who are arrested more frequently or stopped more frequently, proving that is a higher number in percentage of other minorities, in an area, but does not indicate whether or not blacks are targeted more? You're saying I can't prove that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You think I'm crazy?
I don't have anything else to add other than like I have to see if I can disprove that or not.
Like, I don't think you. Maybe we're thinking about this differently, right?
Possibly.
But the statement that I made logically cannot disprove that.
Cool.
Like, there's no amount of evidence you can present that would disprove that because of the words that I use. Like, me saying that, okay, there are X amount of black people that will hold a higher percentage within a population. And then I say there are X amount of Latinos that occupy that same location, right? Given
it's a
where
per capita
they are,
mean.
given the location that they're in, given that they neighbor the same locations, and that the legislation as a whole will target these locations, it wouldn't follow that you can say, hey, I could give you a stat that would say that that's not the case. Like, you can't, there's no stat that would make that not the case, because the reference point for this is very specific.
I think if we're talking a lot about things that we can't really prove, then it would be best to have some sort of evidence on your side, no? Because I mean, you can't really prove the opposite, can you?
Okay.
Like when you're building a case to something?
No, I'm not necessarily built like I'm. The construct is part of the argument. Like what I said is the logical conclusion that one would come to if we accept certain statistical truths. So unless you're going to say something that's opposite of that, I don't really, like, you can't say the opposite of that, basically, because the opposite of that doesn't make sense. It's supposed to be found self-evident from what I proposed with how I constructed the argument. What I was saying, put into, like, I guess a more easy to follow package, is based off of the rules that govern how, like, certain probabilities, certain statistics work. Me making the statement that I made in regards to saying for X amount of black people and X amount of insert minority here living within a certain geographic area, if certain laws that was to target those people within that area or target people that follow those characteristics in that area, even if the percentage of black people affected by that would be higher, it's being applied to the entire group. So everyone that's there, even if the amount of black arrests are higher, are being affected by the law at the same rate, at the same level, because there is the thing that is the law that's being applied to all of them. It's meant to encapsulate all of them. So it doesn't matter if a percentage group is higher, it's affecting all of them equally. The outcomes of how many people it affects are totally different. That's not what we're worried about. We're not worried about how a particular group can recover from a particular enforcement of a set of laws if the laws are being applied equally. You can say that an area that has a majority of black people in it is being over-policed if there's a high police presence there. It doesn't necessarily make sense because there's a majority of black people there. There's going to be a representation of an over-policing of black people. But if you look at a group at which the blacks are not the highest population, the same inverse of policing you're going to see with another group.
And okay, so you're saying that because of the like the number of people don't matter, it's because the law is affecting all of them.
Yeah.
And just to be sure, are you saying that there has been no legislation that has affected black people? Like after segregation, obviously.
Well,
You're saying like after segregation, because that would obviously there were laws that literally affected black people. You're saying after segregation there have been no laws that affected black people negatively.
no. What I will say is there's been no laws that affected solely black people negatively.
I think laws like laws like, oh my god, like the specific things like war on drugs, where powdered cocaine, the version of cocaine that white people usually used, and liquid cocaine that was predominantly affecting the black community, having different sentencing crimes and stuff like that, is a pretty big advocator and element of racist institutions and racist laws. And separating the difference in severity of the drug that affects a particular community more than one other seems a little racist.
Okay. Yeah, the poor minorities use liquid cocaine because it's cheaper, and the more affluent white people use powdered cocaine. And the government decided that, hey, all of these dirty minorities are using the worst version. And for some reason that makes it the inferior version that has bigger side effects, I guess. Makes it worse. It doesn't make sense. There's no reason why they should be looked at any differently. And there's another motive, and a racial motive to that makes total sense. I'm just saying that the crack epidemic broke out in the black community, but there's ancillary communities surrounding that, especially in those areas that have other minority groups that affects, right? Like, crack cocaine is in the black community, but I'm pretty sure other
Behold the horror.
It is going to affect both. And it's going to affect both, basically. There's nothing like different about it. The sentence for having fucking rocks versus having powder is still heavily in one side versus another. But because of how the wealth is distributed, and the oppression that happens to multiple minority groups within the United States at different points in time within the 20th century, what you end up seeing is this difference in wealth that just bubbles out and accumulates and goes out and gets sucked back in because of all these different fucking laws. And then once you have the blacksmithing for, a good portion of the society, population-wise, and them occupying these cities, it's just a powder keg for the type of systematic destruction of a group of people. Alright, let's just cut them off at the knees. I don't ever disagree with the premise that we've been discriminated against for a extremely long period of time.
You just don't think we've been discriminated more or less than other minorities?
Yeah, it's the same shit. Like, in saying slavery, for me, is kind of like, well, yeah, bro, it's happened. Other traumatic events have happened to races as a whole. But they've continued. They've moved on. They recognize it, but they don't hold on to it. Unless it's hatred. That shit just sticks around, bro.
Yeah.
Fucking Chinese and the Koreans and the Japanese and the fucking Chinese. Those things hate each other. And that was some fucked up shit.
Yeah, hatred like that sort of breeds naturally over the generations, especially when two sides are sort of pitted against each other. Yeah, it's a cycle. It's really unfortunate because one side is always going to be looking to point at the other.
I say even worse when they live in the same place.
Oh damn! Are you advocating for segregation again?
Nah, separation, nigga.
Separation. Oh damn. What's the
keep
difference?
keep them Africans over there. Is that
Want
what
to
you're
tell
saying?
me where I gotta go.
Not a
I don't
single.
want to being woke. You're saying
There's not
where I
a
gotta
single
go.
black person who's an African. Okay. There's not a single black American who's an African, dude. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't have damage. And I don't have mana.
I fixed the problem.
You saw racism?
No, my fucking sound cutting in and out. I didn't solve that problem.
You didn't solve racism? I thought we're
Nope.
really working on it. We're trying, guys.
Hey, we're talking about it. And you know, it's a thing that should be talked about. I just think that co-opting something that isn't that is like super annoying. Because the dude basically just got fucking gunned down in the streets for no reason.
Come on, dude. It's a
Took a
perfect.
fucking knee from the top rope to the back.
Hit him with the flying knee.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
Holy shit,
After
dude.
he just butchered my
Oh
for no
god.
reason.
Look what they
That's
did
the
to my
shit.
boy.
Shit. I don't care what you look like, bro.
Yeah. Yeah,
No
anyway,
fucking
yeah.
for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
That shit will rustle the fuck out of me.
If you want to solve racism, just demonetize it.
No,
What is that?
no. That's fucking stupid.
I'm not really sure what he means by what you mean by that.
We can't the government fucking ingrate.
True.
Because that's where the biggest.
That's where anarchy sets in, boys. Oh shit, maybe he's an anarchist.
Get it, anarchist.
Anarchy, anarchy.
Don't have to open the chat.
I'm anarcho-capitalist. Let's get it. Break down the system. Build the system.
Yeah, blame the system. Fuck the system.
Yeah. Build the best not government.
Bring back tribes.
No, we don't want that.
That's yeah. No, men
But
are
a small
not.
community, yeah.
We can't trust men with the power of having like power over small groups of people. Because then they'll just make it so that they have power over bigger groups of people. And then once that happens,
That's why you got institutionalized.
That's why it's not a power structure. It's inherently
League of
not
Legends.
one. There will be people that have more and have less, but that's just life. Like, there's no way you can.
that's life because you make it that way.
No, like, there's no way of devolving some people having more than other people from existence. Right? Like,
But now you could.
no, like if you just had you and your family of 5 people, and there was another family of 5 people, and you guys just did your 5 people thing the best, then you're better than them. And you didn't do anything.
No. But then me as a third party, I come with big. Give me some of that money. They need that. And you give me the money, I'm like, thanks. And then I give it to them. Did it.
You
Yeah.
solved racism?
Well, that's why, like, we don't
Or
do
simply
that. Like, that's why we
take
don't
their-
like government. It's like, oh, you guys are doing well by yourselves, not involving anyone else. Can I have some of your shit to give to them because they are just doing this worse than you? Or are unlucky in some fashion? It's like, oh, the crops over here were just shit and you had a nice field. I think that blows. Unfair.
I mean, like you said, life is unfair,
There's
right?
no- yeah,
It's
there's no
unfair.
real
It's
concept of
unfair.
fairness.
It's unfair that we were
It's not fair that I
fucking
wasn't
segregated
born in,
and
golden cropland where your crops are like golden, like growing at one day at a time. And I'm sitting here fucking.
But that's something that you can't
That's
control,
not
right?
fair.
You can control you stealing my shit. You cannot do that.
That's
That's
even more.
unfair.
Yeah, that's
It's
more.
stealing
That's
my
even
shit.
more reason for you to like help out your fellow men, because we all have to deal with the unfairness of just the world. Why not help out your boy?
But I can
You out
do
here
that
starving.
without you having power over me, and I can be better.
But you
than
don't though.
Like those two things.
But
can
in reality,
exist.
that doesn't happen. Niggas just stop all these crops. I ain't giving that shit to you, bitch. I gave you something. Hey, take a rutabaga.
take a rutabaga. Take a
They
rutabaga.
can give you what they can spare, right? Like, because what if they give you too much, and then the same shit with the crops happens to them next year, and it's both of you that are fucked, or the situation reverses, and they're like, nah, man, fuck that. We don't have enough for you too. So you having a surplus is just in your benefit. You can get rid of what you think is reasonable, But anything beyond that is just you stealing from them.
So are we advocating for small socialism or?
No.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't.
Fuck you thought?
I just thought you just said the gift. I just thought we just said that. I thought that's literally what you were just saying.
No, it's not.
Give what you can.
Bigger.
Give what you can. Is that not a little bit of socialism?
No, it isn't. It's not a socialistic idea.
Fuck, going in, Zach.
If you can, and like, sure, do it. I'm not going to force you to do it. If your fellow man's in need and you decide to help them, you decide to help them. Sure. That's up to you. Again, just don't force me to do it.
But what forces you to do it, really?
And that's the problem.
Taxes.
Nigga.
And what forces the government to do it?
And see, and that's why I disagree.
What allows our current government to do what they're doing?
Yes.
A bunch of shit that was outside of our control because it happened before we were born. Be honest with you.
All right. So what do we do about that?
What can we do about it now?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, either slow the tide of this impending death, or change it.
And how do we change it without revolution?
Anger.
I won't say anger, but revolution.
Ooh. If you're just talking about a changing of ideas,
What did my Angelo say?
it has to happen. People
Grasp
have
at
to
the
think
root.
differently.
Grasp at the root. And pull it out.
It's the consequence of what's happening.
Now, the follow-up question to that is, will the revolution be televised?
Hope not. It's pretty brutal. Niggas will probably be getting gunned down in the streets.
That's why my
Executed, mass executions on television? Holy shit.
It's a nice, good old dictatorship.
Stop.
That's the way we gotta do it.
No.
A joke and a segue here. You see, a revolution won't ever happen because Trump already told us what his defenses are like.
Oh yeah, the dogs and the ominous weapons.
Yeah.
Godlike. What a godlike tweet from the president.
Oh, I'm confused.
So it doesn't help.
He made it.
It doesn't help that president also throws fire.
Because I see the joke, but I don't see the segue. Where's the segue?
I guess we could talk about the tweet. That tweet, because that tweet was very interesting. Where he's like, "Oh, I'm glad the protesters were stopped by the Secret Service." Where he's thanking the Secret Service and stuff for all their hard work and stuff. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm glad the protesters didn't make it over defense because then they'd have to deal with the vicious dogs and the ominous weapons, and then people seriously would have gotten hurt." Like, wait, what?
Why is he not assassinating you?
Like, what? Don't say that. You're the president. You can't threaten your citizens. Fuck.
It's not even that. It's like when people like march on like the fucking grounds with like actual guns. Like, oh, it's chill. Some chill shit. A person jumping over. Get the dogs. Get the guns. Kill them. Like what?
Yeah, bro. You're rushing the White House. You don't want
you're kind of rushing the White House. But
it's cool.
Well, they weren't at the White House. But like, yeah, I think the message that what you're saying is pretty much the same. Is like, how come some forms of protest it seems to be okay, and it gets pretty
colors of protest
treated pretty without any consequence. Essentially, people are walking up to government buildings strapped, and like nothing happens. Police aren't aggressive. Police aren't like.
That's how the people within that state do that, right? Like, you have to look at the capital of the United States as being its own little state.
Yeah.
And not anything else. Like, Washington, D.C. is like its own fucking thing. There are laws that only apply within Washington, D.C., like New York City and all the other major cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at their response to things, it reflects that mindset. In an area where open carry is okay, right? Protesting while having an open carry there isn't that big of a deal because it's almost the norm when you really think about it. There's nothing wrong with it. But in an area where that's not the case, where there's a heightened level of security in certain locations for this very reason, then being like, bro, we will, do X thing on site. A lot of federal property is like that. We're like, yeah, we'll just shoot you, bro. You shouldn't be here.
Like Area 51.
But nobody shut that cup and then killed that poor man.
Disgusting. Open carry, guys. Open carry is the new legislation we need to force through the House. Shoot your police officers that are abusing people. What the fuck?
That'd be great.
Can you imagine that shit? My nigga that's sitting with his knee just gets dome tapped.
Don't even oh god, train more citizens. We need to be able to arrest the police. That's it, dude. Like,
this is my malicious.
Holy shit, dude.
Bro, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no. The police really are the biggest mafia, huh?
The biggest game, bro.
Yeah, actually. It's just harkens back to a conversation Watik and I had like years ago, or like that we had in Steven's attic.
Yeah. Governments. They're
the biggest mafia. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I love all of the support and stuff that you give me and all of the attention and stuff that you decided to bestow upon me. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Remember, with style and grace, keep yourself safe. Bye, guys.